SCP audio data files, Personnel and Character Dossier, Foundation Internal Dossier. The Foundation employs numerous personnel, each contributing their own unique skills and expertise to the organization. The Foundation also monitors thousands of persons of interest, either anomalous themselves or living in and around anomalous communities. Anarchists, magic users, cyborgs, and extra-dimensional beings are only a few examples of what the Foundation has encountered. The content of this dossier is restricted to Level 4 personnel and above. Foundation Doctors: Dr. Charles Anborough, Director of Sites 59 and 117, Keter Containment Specialist. Curious and crippled, a nuclear physicist who can't seem to stay away from cataclysmic threats. Fortunately, through an absurd combination of improvisation and miracles, he seems to be the best man for the job. His sad smile and dry humor belie the confused past of a man always searching for answers. Dr. Daniel Ashworth, Thaumaturologist and self-proclaimed alchemist. Hot-headed, short-tempered, and sometimes arrogant, but with a good heart. Born from an unknown American mother and an unknown Polish father in the late 1950s, one of few people in the Foundation capable of prolonging their youth through anomalous means. Lead of the Damien Nowak case. Believed to once have had been a temporary member of the Wanderers Library and Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, Daniel Ashworth has proven numerous times to be a useful asset in Site 120's Director Council. Doctors Thomas, Trevor, and Tristan Bailey. Identical triplets employed by the Foundation. Sons of Tyler Bailey, inventor of the Multi-Universal Transit Array. Employed by the Foundation for an unknown period of time, employee records and personnel accounts differ, and look anywhere between 20 and 40 as a side effect of constantly crossing universal barriers. Trevor Bailey is the former head of the Department of Multi-Universal Affairs, before being demoted to a desk job at Site 19 for mishandling of a Keter-class anomaly. Tom Bombadilly Bailey is currently the Commissioner of Site 1483 within the Third Antarctic Empire, following a career spent exploring alternate universes. Tristan Bailey is a physicist, diplomat, and designer of a multi-universal translator, formerly assigned to currently director of Site 87. Dr. Harold Blank, a historian of anomalous phenomena, chair of archives and revision at Site 43. Grumpy, sarcastic, incapable of taking anything more seriously than it needs to be taken, including himself. One of a select few staff at his site forced to navigate alternate timelines every time he fucks up one specific duty on one specific day each year. Friends with Dr. Weddle, best friends with Dr. Lilyhammer, and romantically linked with research partner Dr. Melissa Bradbury. Dr. Django Bridge, Foundation archivist, quiet but influential, with a touch of both melancholy and whimsy, extraordinary memory, known to be on a first-name basis with Dr. Bright, and has frequently acted as an informal assistant for him. Dr. Jack Bright, Director of Foundation Personnel, somewhat amoral, extremely loyal to the Foundation, may or may not be friendly and/or terrifying, is certainly blunt. Attached to SCP-963 and is therefore immortal, using the body of whatever 963 has touched. Dr. Jeremiah C. Marian, an ethics committee liaison that takes his job only somewhat seriously. He never thought that his doctorate in English literature or his minor in philosophy could actually help him stay employed, but the former got him recruited to the Foundation as a researcher and the latter secured his employment in the long term. Has an unusual interest in puns and the ethical treatment of humanoids. Dr. Alto Clef, a highly adaptable, clever liar. Former GOC operative specializing in reality benders. Also former file clerk. Undergone anomalous alterations that provide resistance to reality shifts and prevent his face from being photographed. Has a long and checkered history and somewhat hidden streak of self-hatred. Reformed misogynist. Most rumors about him are exaggerated or off-point. Don't call him genre-savvy or enigmatic. Dr. Milford Cogent, At one time a committed researcher, career is relatively unremarkable, with a few cases of ending up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Previously at the forefront of a promising, now-defunct cooperation project with the Vatican. Dr. Kane Pathos Crow, cross-disciplinary, wonder-kind researcher specializing particularly in biochemistry and robotics. Rarely, if ever seen in public, may or may not have been permanently transformed into a dog-like body as the result of a particular anomalous event. Dr. Dan, insufferable emotive genius with a big-picture-centric set of principles, former Marine, lead researcher on an SCP too dangerous to keep around but couldn't make the O5 Council see it that way. Took matters into his own hands, getting dozens of people killed, getting his decommissioning request accepted, and getting a death sentence, in that order. Dr. Michael Edison, Level 3 researcher, current head of Site-19 Metafiction Department, as well as its only member. Dr. Edison has received disciplinary action on multiple occasions due to repeated pattern of unsanctioned and ill-conceived behavior. These behaviors have resulted in temporary reassignment to the Site Antarctic base. His current assignment at Site-19 is contingent on approval from his assigned therapist. Dr. Chelsea Photosynthetic Elliott, plant specialist, both anomalous and non-anomalous, dedicated, friendly, prone to tunnel vision, often in the field, excessively hands-on in her lab and field research, leading to a number of injuries. Scars cover her hands and arms. Dr. Karen Elstrom, Chief of Site-43's Administration and Oversight Section, responsible for managing the logistics required to keep the facility in operation. A meticulous administrator and consummate bureaucrat, respected but not particularly popular. Dedicated to her work but somewhat prone to illness. Dr. Justine J. Everwood, GOI Specialist, very well read and knowledgeable on the many groups of interests the Foundation faces. Is particularly interested in Dr. Wondertainment and Wilson's Wildlife Solutions. Is generally approachable but is often lost in thought, be they mundane or fantastical. Dr. Joseph Joe Finnegan, Senior Researcher at Site-409 and lead on the containment/documentation on several SCPs, was once suspected of having murdered a fellow Foundation employee but later exonerated of all charges. Expert on ARBH class event scenarios, aka Insect Hell Instinction level events. A little socially awkward and very much an oversized nerd, he has a very relaxed temperament and perhaps a little naive for someone in his position. Dr. Heather Garrison, loud, snarky, and overconfident, but she's usually right, so people still listen. Memetics and ontology specialist at Site-43, professionally breaking concepts and getting away with it, in between unofficial research projects. A frequent observer, visitor, and manipulator of the noosphere. Dr. Charles Gears, Cog, a man strangely lacking in emotional response to the point of lacking in a startle response, and possessing unusual levels of logic and intellect. Former Euclid class object specialist before having his area of study expanded. Has been deeply involved with research regarding a truly shocking number of SCP objects known major and minor. A figure of great influence in recent Foundation history. Dr. Simon Glass, Head of Psychology, trusted with performing psychological evaluations of highly ranked Foundation personnel. Very empathetic, sometimes considered soft, and that's true for a Foundation researcher, but he is still well trusted. In the course of his interviews, he has gained knowledge of more and more terrible secrets, yet still holds on to both his sanity and empathy. Dr. Frederick Hayden, neurology specialist, anxious, uncertain, empathetic, focused on logic, involved in a number of highly classified projects, despite initially being barred from any non-safe classed objects. Dr. Heugel, sapient Siegel, head of the Foundation's Aviation Division, commanding MTF ETA-4, Begone Thoth. Dr. Everett King, one of the Foundation's most experienced mathematicians, Dr. King's reputation has nevertheless been overtaken by his testing record involving unusual results. Despite this, he regularly contributes to internal Foundation intellectual periodicals. Dr. Mark Cairo, Senior Researcher and Director of an Anomalous Items Processing Lab. Upon initial recruitment, had a successful career as a therapist, licensed psychologist. Worked extensively with SCP-1457 in his first years with the Foundation, but doesn't talk about that, and has spearheaded several projects involving sapient SCP entities. Cheery attitude and a good listener. Looks out for his coworkers and interns like a bit of a mother hen sometimes. Has a ceramic seahorse in potted bamboo on his desk. Dr. Zin Kairu, highly prolific researcher, involved in a number of classified Foundation projects. Obsessive, driven, often not eating or sleeping in favor of finishing tasks. Finished her schooling through an accelerated program after joining the Foundation. Initially closed off and withdrawn, but opened up due to a latent ambitious streak. She often volunteers to handle new Foundation member intake, hoping to give new members a positive introduction to an often deeply horrifying organization. Has a private flair for poetry. Has accidentally inherited the absent Kondraki's affiliation with anomalous butterflies, including SCP-408 after Kondraki's disappearance. Dr. Adam Leeward, emotionally confused and ethically conflicted humanoid containment specialist from Site-11, living in Site-81, may or may not have made a few mistakes, may or may not have cleaned up a few mistakes, not without the standard degree of coldness and personality traits, but with a few, sometimes painful, soft spots. Dr. Sam Levy Leviticus, a sweetheart and a social butterfly. Engineering expert of Site-403, taken under the wing of Dr. Alexandria Sycamore, research department head. Closest friend of Ezekiah Lenora, stocky, witty, and good-natured. Them and Adrian Hemlock work as theater techs on their time off, using their engineering skills to build marvelous sets. Dr. Sophia Light, biologist, surgeon, and site director with far, far too many secrets. A likable yet frightening person. Blunt, determined, calculating, good under pressure. Putting effort into remaining friendly and open and emotionally stable. Bears minor facial scarring. An old injury in her left hand sometimes impairs its functionality. Somewhat traumatic childhood. Caretakers forced her to learn outdoor survival by leaving her stranded in the African wilderness for days on end. Joined the Foundation after a classified anomalous incident that killed 11 people, including her then-fiancé. Currently or formerly romantically linked with Troy Lament. Dr. Lillian S. Lilyhammer, genius-level intellect. Master memeticist of Site-43. Discoverer, interpreter, neutralizer, and creator. Always half a dozen steps ahead of everyone else. Lead researcher on Vanderknede, technical media, antisocial and arrogant, but so incredibly competent that nobody begrudges it. Dr. Victorlai Amity Lost, a reality anchor, Site-404 researcher and nervous wreck. Tries their best, occasionally succeeds, always ends up in the background of some SCP's nonsense, well known as the guy you go to when you need reality kept in check. Dr. Judith Lowe, Senior Advisor at the Department of History, specializes in the religious practices known as Sarkism, and involved in the containment of SCP-2133, SCP-2191, and SCP-2480. Dr. Connor McWarren, active researcher focusing in the development of anomalous technologies on top of being one of the board of directors at Site-98 in Philadelphia. Currently oversees his own department specializing in extra-dimensional anomalies. Humble, sarcastic, irritable, and absolutely loathes having to repeat himself every time anyone mishears his dry jokes. Former member of the Marine Corps, with a highly prolific GOC agent for a father now estranged. Dr. Everett Mann, unconventional medical researcher with a few scruples and a specialty in unusual forms of surgery, jokingly referred to as mad scientist. He objects to the term mad scientist, claiming that mad doctor would be more accurate, and further that the difference should be plain to anyone with a proper academic background to speak of. Willing to do monstrous things in the name of research. Possesses a dramatic mustache. Due to his upbringing, his cultural and popular knowledges are woefully out of date, leading to anachronistic and ridiculous situations. Dr. Jamie Marlowe, average researcher specializing in space-time, extra-dimensional, visual, spatial, and cognohazardous anomalies, previously described as painfully average, notable more for minor interpersonal incidents and inappropriate outbursts when under stress. Marlowe's profile has slightly increased due to apparent unexplained connections to unrelated anomalous events which only appear to have increased in frequency. Dr. Placeholder McDoctorate, head of the Pataphysics Department, initially hired by the IT department, promoted to department head in 1996 for notable performance in the containment of SCP-5241. Promoted to site director, then personally requested reassignment to the Pataphysics Department. Promoted to department head for notable developments in the theoretical pataphysics, then founded the Archetypicals Division. At some point had his name retroactively abstracted by the SCP Integer. Dr. Raven Mercer, veterinary-focused researcher, second in command of Cairo Labs. Handles personnel allocation for incoming anomalous item catches. Often goes on outside assignments. Good with animals. Owns a grumpy bearded dragon lizard who lives in the lab. Dr. Elise Reinders. Non-victim of a disaster which trapped her in what should have been stasis, which she instead turned into an 8-decade self-improvement course. Now possesses 16 doctorates. The sharpest mind at Site-43 and an unaging brain and body. An early and modern pioneer of achromatic abidement and potentially future director of the Temporal Anomalies Department. She was also a part of the team which developed the Foundation's front piece glamour to disguise its various front companies. Dr. Jesse Riviera, member of Site-120's Director Council. With a PhD in psychology, personally takes care of humanoid anomalies contained at her facility. Close friend of Dr. Daniel Ashworth, working with him on the Damien Nowak case, offering a perspective more grounded in reality. Granddaughter of Hannah Riviera, the person responsible for Site-120's establishment, married to Magdalene Cornwell, another member of the site's Directors' Council, with whom she is now peacefully living in the free port of Esterberg. Dr. Catherine Sinclair, acting head and one of only 2 members of the Occult Studies and Thaumatological Division at Site-87 in Sloth's Pit, Wisconsin, has been involved in numerous incidents, including the assault on Sloth's Pit by the now defunct group of interest, Satyr's Reign, and the 2014 Christmas incident, has burn scars on her forearms from a botched flame ritual. Dr. Daniel Sokolsky, the chief of Site-43's Emergent Threat Tactical Response Authority section, known for his arrogance and constant scheming and delight in overly complex plans. Kept around because this generally works in the Foundation's favor, although Sokolsky's seems to be primarily motivated by a desire to show up his colleagues and embarrass his enemies. Dr. Johannes Sorts, mimetic specialist and field researcher with a doctorate in art history. Caucasian, late 30s, unshaven with graying brown hair. Slightly overweight, usually wears a gray cap. Obsessive, cowardly, and paranoid in mundane situations, but solid and focused when presented with mimetic or information-based hazards. Multiple disciplinary reports due to poor choice of action under pressure, including the shooting of a guard while under my influence. Currently under psychiatric evaluation and restricted to safer projects. Dr. Cole Thereven, Director of the Department of Anomalous Communications and Relations. Researcher at Site 63, involved in some ethically questionable research projects, far more important to the Foundation than he initially seems. Dr. Sage West, member of the Site 404 Chemistry Department, small, ginger, and fierce as a firecracker, friends with Dr. Lost, Sam Leviticus, Ezekiah Lenora, and Adrian Hemlock. While snarky and fun, she has a hint of a mean streak, quick to point out drama and pry into situations. While she's smart, West is usually hurt by her own impulsive nature and inability to take criticism. She butts heads with Dr. Reynolds regularly. She's a part of the unofficial Department of Disappearances, helping get rid of people through her extensive forensic chemistry knowledge and toxology expertise. Dr. William W. Weddle, head of replication studies at Site 43, nobody's favorite person. Untalented, unintelligent, unmotivated, unpleasant, unfortunate. Staunchly resists character development, career advancement, and friendship formation. Somehow, nevertheless, vital to the continued survival of the Prime timeline. Husband and frequent interrogator of Vikander technical media anomalies, always against his will, may have hidden depths. Dr. Thaddeus Xiank, presently low-level but extremely significant Foundation researcher, specializes in temporal anomalies, somewhat arrogant and long-winded, but considered an up-and-coming genius.